It's not a solution. I think beauty is a revelation. Everything we do sends a message, but not everything we do connects. The moment she started reading the Bible, the presence of God just descended. And I didn't see AC. I didn't see people handing water. I didn't see screens, QR codes. I didn't see absolutely nothing of that. It was not about what you can see. It was not about what you can touch. It was about what you can feel in your heart. And it was about the presence of God.
Welcome to the 1334 podcast. Today, Eddy Rivas joins me to talk about creativity in the church and creativity in general. This is going to be a wonderful episode about just the philosophy of creativity and what it means for the modern day church. You wrote, "The first act attributed to God in Scripture is not instruction, not law, and not even salvation. It is creation." So you make the case that creativity in and of itself is the nature of God. Why do you think that is an important distinction?
I think it's a super important distinction because as the Bible says, before him there was nothing. Before something came to existence, there was nothing. Having the ability to create is making stuff out of nothing. And he is the main creator. And that's why creativity is so important, because when we call ourselves creators or we give ourselves the distinction of being creative, it's pretty much remembering that we are able to create because we were created and we are a creation. And the main creator, it's inherited in us, has inherited to us the ability to create, has passed it down. And of course, a really lower and really less powerful level, because we cannot create worlds completely, but we can imagine those. And it's in our DNA, having the ability to create, or the need, or something I call the design compulsion or the creative compulsion, where we feel like we have to create. Mm-hmm.
Can you give a little bit about your backstory? And, you have some writings and stuff that I definitely want to share, but just so people know who you are as a creative.
Yes. So I was born in Guatemala. It's a really small country. If you know a little bit of geography, it's the USA, and then there's Mexico, and there's a little Mexico. It's in Guatemala. And I come from a hometown I will not pronounce this because it's going to be so hard for people to look it up anyways. But I was born there, always drawing, doodling. My uncle was a carpenter, and one of the first things I remember is that always watching him doodle all the furniture and tables and bed frames. And he will say, "I have this work for a client. I need to do, 20 bed frames." And in my mind, he will just go straight into the wood and cutting it. But no, he will actually sit down, do his little blueprints in a way of speaking, and he will draw really detailed what he was going to do. And I remember thinking, this is kind of like a waste of time. Why don't you just go ahead and start doing it on the wood? But he said, if I don't have a good path to know where I'm going, I can get lost. And the client is not paying me to get lost. The client is paying me to achieve something for him. And I remember that, so I started kind of doing the same. And of course, comic books, anime, superheroes, all of that is a big influence. Cartoons. For any kid to start drawing, you want to do the first superhero that inspires you. I remember just doodling big scratches of blue and red, and I will tell my mom, "This is Superman," and she'll be like, "Yeah, of course, it looks the same," but it was not. So that's kind of where my creative path started, and I've always been fascinated by everything that has to do with art, and I can find beauty in nature and even food. Food is so colorful where I come from in Latin America, and all of that inspires me. Animals, and by the church, because I come from a very Pentecostal background, so there's not much room for getting off the script. So part of that also inherent in me a little bit of maybe a little bit of the spirit of being a rebel, of defying the authority, where they say we cannot have screens, we cannot have graphics because we need to align to a certain topic or a certain way of seeing the Bible. So I will remember, if the pastor is talking about David and Goliath, my mind immediately goes to the epic adventure, the little guy versus the giant, the heroic act of defying what's instituted to you and what is mandatory of always listen and do this. And if you're small, you cannot defeat giants. So my mind goes there. I made a whole movie about it. But the way they will preach it will be like, it's just a kid, yeah, grab a bunch of rocks. So that instituted in me a little bit of thinking out of the box. Of the way I see this is that I can put these words into graphics. And that inspired me to create even more. So when I look back into my background, and this is the funny thing that you ask about my background is I've been all over the place, and my creative process has changed because I've changed, because I've grown. But every now and then, I still look back at something that a pastor says, and my first thought is always, "Oh, I see it this way. This could be a great movie. This could be a great title." So yeah, that's mainly my background. I'm a graphic designer. I've been a graphic designer for almost 10 years, and I love motion graphics, drawing, art. And lately, I've been found a little bit of art in prepping the lunchbox for my son.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like to do a little balance, and the colors have to coordinate. And no one's gonna see it, just me. But at least I know that I'm putting a little bit of intentionality into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that I find so interesting is that a lot of people think that creativity is just, oh, they're creative and I'm not, or, oh, I'm just a creative person and I need to go do these creative things. But I think what's interesting is that we've all been designed in a way to create. Like the Bible even talks about, you create with your words. You're made in the image of someone who spoke and created, and we're designed the exact same way. And I think we're all creating constantly anyway, whether it be what you say or think or imagine. And I don't know, I think it's a really interesting idea to think that we've all been already created to create something, whether it be a life for somebody, a your kid, you're even a lunch for them, like you're saying. I don't know, I think it's a really interesting thought process.
Yeah, and I recently read a book by Eddy Rivas. It's called The Creative Act. It's pretty much a big book of reminding you cannot become creative because you were born creative. You just need to remember that creativity is inherent in you. So I believe that an intrinsic value for humans is creativity. It's in us. Now, intrinsic can become ontological, but we have to put the work on it. So we can make big things out of something we already have inside, but we need to remember, and we need to work for it, and we need to have the intentionality to achieve it. And a lot of people say this, I cannot do what you do because I'm just not creative. And we need to remember that we all have skills. All of us are good in different stuff. The same way people are really good at playing hockey, I cannot put on the same equipment and I will just slide and eat the ice completely. And maybe they're not going to be good designing or editing or doing what I do. But it's the same thing. I cannot pretend that I'm an astronaut. I require training and I require preparation. Creativity is the same. You have the creativity to think outside the box, to have ideas, especially in the church. As part of the church, there's creativity every single day. The way you put a chair, the way you say hi to someone, even the way you open a door for someone, all of that is creativity. We just need to remember that we have it.
Yeah. I think many Christians understand God through a moral lens or an intellectual lens.
Yeah.
And so why do you think that the creative dimension of the Imago Dei gets overlooked?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I think first we need to understand that Imago Dei is pretty much made to his image, right? To the image of God. And we forget that we are made to his image because lately there's been a culture of a big pressure of telling people you need to stay humble, but that also kind of kills your dreams and your abilities and limits the power of God and the image that of God in you. We were made and born to achieve greatness, but not in the greatness and success that society tells you to do. Because our final goal as Christians, anyways, is not to be successful here, is to go to heaven, spend eternity with him, and worship God. So I think the Imago Dei is pretty much remembering he is a creator. We are made to his image. Therefore, we have the ability to create. So we have in us the same blessing, the same power, the same imagination. Because when you look at sci-fi movies, mainly Avatar, and you look at all these different animals,
Yeah.
you think of, wow, how can someone create all of that? Someone has to put the thought, and someone spent hours thinking, what if I make a horse with 6 legs? And instead of putting the eyes here, I'm going to put it on the neck.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. And maybe I'm deviating from the question, but it's all part of creativity comes from something. In this case, the main source is God. So the Imago Dei, it's always remembering he is the source and we're just the recipient. But the recipient is not just to hold, to have like, I might sometimes blank on my English.
You're good.
Sometimes I might blank on my English, and I think that the term is staggered water, or
Stagnant.
stagnant water. Yes. So if we are a recipient, if you put water and you just keep it there on a recipient for months and months and months, it's gonna stink, and it loses its purpose. Same with your creativity. You are meant to use it for something, and it's even better if you use it for church, because that's the prime purpose for it. The primal purpose for it. He is the source. He's telling you here, use what I'm giving you. Use it for me to spread my message, my light. And then when you don't use it, you feel like you have so much to give, but you don't know how.
Mm.
And that is the same way of the Holy Spirit and God telling you, I'm making you creative for a reason, and I'm giving you all this imagination, all these resources. Use them, please, in a way. You don't necessarily have to become the next Da Vinci, the next Picasso, because creativity is not just painting. It's not just art in the sense of we understand creativity. Again, creativity is in everything, and the Imago Dei is basically that. Remembering he is the source, we are made to his image, and we're meant to use it and spread it.
That's so good. It almost reminds me of like there's the idea that creating isn't hard work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about how, I mean, it's not an easy task in and of itself. Like I had the thought while you were talking about that the creative is almost like a woman ready to give birth.
Mm-hmm.
They're so close, and they're like, there's something here, and it just hasn't come forth yet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people feel that. They're like, I'm for more, there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to labor at it.
Yes.
You know, you still have to, whether it be learn how to use a camera, learn how to set up a mic, or whether it be learn how to paint, learn how to write, learn how to speak to somebody. There's always some sort of laboring involved.
Yes.
You can enjoy it, but there's still a hands and feet that have to be.
And I want to honor one of my neighbors. He passed away many years ago, but he was a painter growing up. He was a great artist. And I remember asking him, I was just 9 or 10 years old, and I asked him, how do you find inspiration? How do you battle creative blockness? And how do you, when you feel like you cannot, how do you find inspiration? And he said, I do not search for inspiration. I let inspiration catch me, but she has to find me working.
Wow.
So that really stuck with me forever, and I still use that word. I cannot just sit on a couch and just think, okay, inspiration, come to me, talk to me. It works sometimes. Sometimes out of nowhere, you can be sitting anywhere and you get these random ideas. And if you're able to grab the computer or a sketchbook or something and start sketching something, and something awesome comes out of it. But most of the time, in my experience, when I open a blank canvas of Photoshop, Premiere, Illustrator, all of that, that's where the inspiration comes to me, because I'm already looking at stuff.
Yeah.
All the other elements are going to create sources of inspiration to me. A font, a typography, a line. Even my own sketchbook is just one line, and then from that line transcends to, okay, this can be a curve for a design. What are curves? Curves are beauty, softness. What is this message is trying to spread to people, transmit? So all of that inspiration is, you really need to work for it. The final goal of inspiration is to spread a message, and inspiration by itself does nothing.
That's so good.
Because you it's almost like living out of good intentions. You can only have the best intentions, but if you don't really do and use them, you don't really have a purpose for them. So inspiration is the same. You can be inspired or look for inspiration and stay waiting for it 20 hours, 2 days, and it might not come. But it's always better when you sit down and you start working, always create. And I think in movies and sometimes stories, and this culture, our culture has romanticized that creatives are always creating and that you have good ideas all the time. And they have made us believe that there's no room for bad ideas. And sometimes bad ideas are not bad intrinsically. They're just not useful for the moment. And when you see these movies, I have a love-hate relationship with musicians biopics, because in most of them there's always a scene when there is silence and these musicians do a little beat, and there's always someone who goes, do that again.
Yeah.
And they do it and they go like, yeah, that's going to become a success, it's going to become a hit. But inspiration is not like that. You know it. You probably have had many ideas for your documentaries, for your videos, and you did so many different revisions, and how many sheets of paper you had to like just roll and throw away and go in the trash. How many copies of the same file we have in trash and discard.
Yeah.
People don't see that. They see the final result. And
The amount of variations to the Thailand documentary, I've probably, I'm sure I have 24, 25 of them exported full length, 50 minutes long, just over and over and over again.
And there is not only the inspiration previous to a design, there's the inspiration after you're already done that is always telling you can always add more.
Yep.
And that's the one that I'm trying to silent more than the actual previous inspiration, because I'm supposed to be done. And it kind of attaches a little bit to perfectionism, where I'm trying to stay away from it a little more, but it's really hard. You know it. Sometimes you already did the 1 hour length video, 2 hours length video, and then you notice something and no one else is going to notice, just you. And it's only to scratch the little creative itch that you have in your brain that's going to let you sleep at night, and you're not going to be thinking about it like, I can just do one frame. Let me just adjust that one frame.
That's what happened with Thailand, because there was 3 scenes. I was like, I need this B-roll. So I reached out to you and I was like, dude, can you please draw or animate, just create something? You were like, what do you want it to look like? I was like, I don't care. I just know it needs this design here. And you piece those 3 together and they are perfect. And it was like, I knew it needed something that I couldn't do. I couldn't create it. I couldn't make it. But I knew that you had that. And I think that's where you end up with a lot of creatives try to do things in holes. You watch something on Van Gogh and you're like, oh, he was just in a room by himself, painting and creating by himself. And you realize he went a little crazy, but there's that, like, there has to be a team, there has to be a community involved.
Yeah. And there's humility in hearing people's feedback and always looking back and seeing the whole picture, the whole canvas, because if we get hyperfixated in one little detail, you lose perception of the bigger picture, and that really can be bad for you as creative.
Have you read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield?
I've heard of it, but
Dude, it's so good. From a theological place, I don't really recommend it. He has some weird ideas of like angels and stuff like that, but he has a lot of really good stuff in there about the resistance, and he talks about in it about just that, about, you know, getting over you aren't what you create. You aren't your art. It's part of you, but it's not who you are. And you have to, he said, there is a coldness to the professional. He talks about how the amateur and the professional is completely separated from the art itself, and he can be cold toward it, where you can talk about it and it's not who he is. And I noticed that transition to myself years ago, where I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where it's like, oh, I'm creating this thing and it's my idea, but there's a disconnect, and you have to create that. He calls it the professional, you know, but stepping up and becoming the professional, and not, he talks about how the amateur is all attached to their ideas and they won't move forward until it's, you know, perfect. And I had a friend of mine who, as I was starting 1334, he said, hey, there's a difference between done and perfect. He said, sometimes done is okay. He said, there's a fine line, but you have to know when it's okay for it to be done and not perfect.
Yeah, and it's remembering the purpose and the goal of what you're creating. And sometimes, you know how the Bible says you have to deny yourself to follow Jesus and like, carry your cross. And I believe in creativity is the same. You need to forget that it's, like you say, you need to separate the creation from the creator, the art piece from the artist, because you are going to change and your art is going to be timeless, but we're not. We're going to pass. And you put the example of Van Gogh, and yes, he went a little cuckoo. He lost his mind a little bit, but now his art is, it's awesome. And most of these artists, their art pieces, they just become super famous after they die. They really never get to see or experience the fame that they have now. I mean, I believe, I might be wrong in this, but I believe Van Gogh died poor and alone. So imagine that as if he could have the chance or the opportunity to just look at where his work of arts are right now, and he inspires so many people. Like, I mean, he's a big inspiration for me. Like, I love the Starry Night. I think it's just the most famous painting by him. I love it. And you can really feel that he was struggling with a lot of stuff through it. And you can kind of tell when you're in a bad mood by looking back into what you did. And it's a great way, like you say, separating and learning to let go as a creative is something you have to learn, and you have to force yourself to do it. And my supervisor right now where I work at a church, and James, his name is James, he's always telling me, you don't have to do it like this. And if he will say, we may be thinking doing this typography or this animation, and then he can see that my wheels start spinning, and he already goes, don't put more hours than what is needed.
That's good.
Especially if a video is going to be played once, if it's just an intro for an event, a lot of people are going to see it. Yes, it's going to have a lot of eyes. This thing is going to be watched and seen by a lot of people, but one time. And is it really worth for you to spend 45 hours on a week working on it, hyperfixating, getting to the point where you don't eat, where you get angry, if you get upset if things are not going, being away from your family, or even working overnight, and then you're going to be tired the next day, and then you're going to get in a bad mood. So all of this affects. Learning to let go, learning that once it's done, it's done. Yeah, your job is done. And if you want to be a perfectionist, then you can do it, but manage the dose. Don't really hyperfixate. And that's something I struggle with every single day too. for every work of art, every art piece. And I have an issue with calling it art
Mm-hmm.
because I don't see myself as an artist. I think I'm more like, yeah, probably a creator is the word I will use. But yeah, like you say, I think it's really good separating the creation from the creator. Because again, sometimes people will see a work of art and then they will tell you this was created by this person and this person has this reputation. So let's judge this, whatever he did. Because it's by transitive properties. If he's bad, therefore his creation is bad. But it's not really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you just look at a work of art, a painting or something made by someone, if you don't know who made it, does it lose its value? Or just by itself, like the intrinsic value, is it lost? Or does it always have to be attached to who made it?
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define art? I think, well, personally,
Mm-hmm.
there's I see some memes as a modern day type of art.
Right.
It's not quite propaganda, but there's a lot of art involved in
Yeah.
meme. But how do you define art in and of itself? Because there's a lot of, the spectrum's huge.
Yeah.
What is it?
I think art serves a purpose for the cultures, for the time that we live, for the ages. If we go back to the main, there's a meme, really famous meme where you have a modern day painter saying, I'll never be good as the old masters. And then you go back to someone in the times of Da Vinci saying, looking at, so the modern guy is looking at Da Vinci work saying, I will never be good as the old masters. And then you go back at Da Vinci seeing someone from previous times to him saying, I will never be good as the old masters. And then you go back to a caveman looking at his first doodles in the cave and saying, I'm the best. Because that was all the references he had. So I think art serves a purpose, and the main purpose of art, in my way of understanding, is reflecting the beauty and the power of God. And art always has to send a message. If it doesn't send a message, if it doesn't move anything in you, if it doesn't make you reflect, think, or even see things in a different way, I will not call it art. Not everything I do as a graphic designer is art. Because if I'm making a flyer for a concert, you're not going to frame the ticket for a concert or a flyer unless something happened to you in that concert. And then you add value to it.
Yeah.
So that's when it becomes conceptual. It requires an event and an emotion for you to consider or give it an extra value to that piece of work or work of art or a graphic for me to consider art. So yeah, I think art has to serve a purpose. I don't know right now for modern artists what their purpose is. I don't know what they're trying to achieve. For sure, it's sending a message, and there's always viewers and audience for everything. And someone told me if a product exists, it's because someone is consuming it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure they have their audiences.
Yeah. What's the difference in creating awe and expressing emotion?
Creating awe and expressing emotion. I think expression is really tied to your emotions, to your feelings, and to wanting to share something. And creating is making stuff out of nowhere or creating something that doesn't exist. Creating something new, creating something with purpose. You can express your feelings, but your feelings will not always have a purpose and will not be useful for someone else all the time. And when you create, there's a thought beforehand and there's an idea beforehand, so there's a plan. So creating art requires plans. And if we tie it directly to churches, or creatives in churches, we prefer to create with a plan. The plan is to reach people and spread the message of the gospel. Because if we cannot lead only on expressionism and getting people emotional, because that's easy.
Yeah.
You see it mainly. How many I don't know how many churches you've been in your life, but I bet it's countless amount of times that you've seen a cross in a church. And it has became a symbol, the cross, but we have detached the symbol from the intrinsic value, which is Jesus, the whole sacrifice. So just a symbol is just an emotion. And that symbol, separated from the plan of the creator, it loses its purpose.
Yeah.
So to me, creation is better because it involves planning and involves having a purpose. Yeah. Pure emotionalism sometimes is vain and empty.
Yeah. You said creatives in the church then are not auxiliary. They are not decorators of a finished message. It's easy to treat creatives as support staff rather than ministers.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think that mindset came from, and what does it miss?
I think I was going through a point where I've been starting to write that for 9+ years. So I was in a point where I was probably overwhelmed. And hearing back all those writings it really brings back memories. But I believe creators are auxiliary to unfinished messages because they can help. They can help spread emotions and understand the message better. But in this specific phrase and quote, I'm referring to all creatives, not just encompassing graphic designers. When you stay home and you look at a service and you watch the service from home, the way the cameras move, the way the pastor says something, the way the lights spread something, you're not in the room, you're in your house. But if the atmosphere is planned correctly, if you got the proper camera director, the proper guy in lighting, the proper graphics, the music sounds good, the audio sounds good, all of that is part of the creation plan, the creator's plan. If all of that sounds good, creates the atmosphere, the correct atmosphere for you to feel the presence of God with no distractions and with nothing that is going to stand out more than the actual message of God, which is the purpose of streaming a service. But if on top of that, or instead of that, you're watching a service and you have a creator that wanted to stand more than the others, and it starts feeling like it's me who has to be noticed other than the team, that's where I feel like people can deviate from it, where if you notice a camera movement that is not supposed to be there, like a little shaky, mm-hmm. or the power goes out in the stage, even for 1 second, you notice it. You go like, whoa, something happened here. And it distracts your brain. So I think people forget when you go to a church and you see screens, you see lights, you see audio. People forget that we are part of it and we're an important role of it to help you to connect with God, because the temple and the church is the place that you're supposed to go to worship. So something outside that, distractions and any of that, are going to be noticed. And your work as a creator is to make sure people connect and get into the same atmosphere and tune in with God. So if something stands out, yes, we're helpers for the message, but if you do something wrong, you're going to be noticed. I think a good creative team in churches, when the service goes well, and the whole purpose is to go unnoticed. If no one has nothing to say about you, you know that the service went well.
Yeah.
But if someone says, hey, can we talk to the guy in the screens? That's when you know, okay, something went wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think churches are communicating today that they may not realize?
This goes, I tie this really with my main job as a graphic designer and branding. One of my favorite phrases about branding, and I learned this in school, is everything we do sends a message, but not everything we do connects. So you may not know this, that you're communicating something as a church. When you walk in and you see trash on the driveway, and when you get to the parking lot, no one says hi to you, or someone is there at the door but they don't say good morning back to you. There's gum in the chairs, or it's 5 minutes for the service to start. You get there early, and then you see someone still working on the lights, or you see a musician practicing nonsense because it's not the actual worship. So those things are sending a message. And in a service at church, you need to have excellence because God is excellent. So it's not about perfection, but it's about sending the right message. And we are ambassadors of Jesus and of God at a service. And I think churches are sending messages all the time that they don't realize. And I believe the ones that we should be sending is, you're welcome here. You have a place here. You can sit here. You belong here. And instead of we do things halfway. We don't care for excellence. If you see trash on the floor, to us is fine. That's completely a deterrent for people that attend churches. And I believe the messages that most churches are sending now is, and which is our good messages, is come here, you're accepted, you are welcome here, and we have a place for you. But how do you send those messages? I will turn this question back to you. What do you think churches are sending over, or what messages churches are sending in Thailand, for example?
I think in Thailand, I think that there's a huge message of you're welcome here, and more so you have the power. So they're very Buddhist, and there you go to one priest and he talks to God. Mm-hmm. And one of the things there is, hey, we all have community together with Christ. Yeah. And that alone is huge for their culture. It's like, hey, you have access to his peace, to his presence at all times. Mm-hmm. And that is just has been huge for the young adults in Thailand, for sure, and Southeast Asia. But I think in general, I think it's really easy to pay attention to what you're trying to communicate and not what's actually being said.
Yes.
Miscommunication, essentially.
Yes, and also remember that you don't need all the modern tools and equipment to send a message.
Yep.
Regardless of that, you will still send messages and still communicate stuff. Because you've experienced it, and from Thailand, and me coming from Latin America, a lot of churches still don't have screens.
Dude, when I was in my first trip to India, so I took a 9-hour little taxi ride from where I was to northern Punjab, and we visited a church there, and we were there as guests. The church was on this guy's roof, completely surrounded by sheets, because in Punjab it's a little safer to be Christian, but still not very safe.
Yeah.
So we're fully surrounded by sheets in the middle of summer, and we go sit up top, and it's me and like 40 or 50 other people sitting on the roof, and it's like, this is church. There's nothing else. There's a guy reading from a Hindi Bible, and they're all just kind of, everyone's sitting and listening and trying to understand a little bit more. And then the guy I was with, Andy, he stood up and got to speak from his heart about who Christ is and his peace. But it was like, this is church.
Yeah.
You don't need LED screens. You don't need fanciness. And I think there's a really huge divide in the Western church where it's like, what do we need lights, we need haze, or it's like, no, we don't need anything. We need a wooden pew and air conditioning, and that's it. And it's like, you don't need anything. You need the Bible, and you need community.
Yeah. Where I had experience like many years ago, going to churches on top of the mountains in Guatemala, and it's literally this, what do you call this metallic? So basically there's no walls, there's no concrete walls, there's just pieces of metal around four and a metallic roof, and the door was just a curtain, a piece of fabric. And in there You walk in there and you immediately feel something is different here. And it's a room probably this size, really small. And you cram as many people as you can. There's one old lady with a Bible. The moment she started reading the Bible, the presence of God just descended. And I didn't see AC. I didn't see people handing waters. I didn't see screens, QR codes. I didn't see absolutely nothing of that. It was not about what you can see. It was not about what you can touch. It was about what you can feel in your heart. And it was about the presence of God. And that's why I write, and with some of my writings, I talk about churches in Guatemala. Most of them, they don't have screens. But it's something really interesting is that in their small temples, in the back wall where the preacher is talking on the stage, they always paint. They do these landscapes of a shepherd holding sheep, and the bigger the wall is, the more sheep they put in the wall, and it's really interesting. Or they just paint a big landscape of a river or a waterfall. That if you're in the service, a 3-hour service, you don't want to watch a waterfall. But that's where I believe that what we do is not essential, because we're not essentials as creators. Like the screen is not essential. The haze, the lights, all of that is not essential. It helps. It's a great tool, and it helps you connect, especially in a modern culture, modern era. If you're used to certain accommodations, it's not bad. It's not, how can I say, you cannot be condemned or feel bad if you're used to having AC. I mean, what person wants to be hot and sweaty all the time?
Yeah.
Unless you absolutely have to, and you're completely limited by your culture, your situations, then that's fine. But if you have the means to avoid and being in discomfort, and if you have the means to purchase all that equipment, do it. But find someone who knows how to handle it, how to use it.
Yeah.
And make sure the graphics that you use are useful and serve the purpose.
Yeah. You draw a straight line between stained glass,
yeah,
and modern day media.
Yeah.
So how are these two the same thing?
Okay, so if you go back to the beginnings of Gothic architecture, they started to find a way to communicate with light. Stained glass is their solution to it. They found a way that you have a piece of glass. Glass was going to bounce or go through it, depending on the intensity of the sunlight. But when they stain it, they noticed that some of that light refraction was going to stay there. And depending on the color, it's going to give a certain effect. So someone had the idea of, what if we start making scenes with the stained glass? What if we start representing scenes? And in this case, it's saints or a shepherd. Again, we go back to a shepherd or a sheep or a cross. And that really blew my mind the first few times I did it, because my country was colonized by Spanish. So a lot of the old churches that we have are heavily inspired by Spanish churches. So a lot of them still have some of the stained glass. And very Catholic churches, really beautiful when it comes to architecture-wise. They have some really nice columns, the details, everything is beautiful. But the stained glass really stood out to me, and I remember looking at them and thinking, I wonder how long it took them to do this. Who was in charge of cutting the glass?
Yeah.
In those shapes? Because I don't think they had laser cutters. No. And I'm thinking how many times that person caught their hands, their fingers trying to do this. And why did they choose these specific icons? Why a sheep? Like, you get it once you have biblical context.
Yeah.
But why do you think that in these churches, people needed to see a sheep? Why the cross? Why a halo? Sometimes it's a dove or a pigeon.
Yeah.
So that has been a thought that has been with me forever. And then I noticed that In the beginning, God said, in Genesis says, let there be light. So through his light, everything in the universe lit up. Stained glass is a way of using light. The light of God, the light of his message, his presence, to get inside the churches. What is screens now? Modern churches, modern creatives. What do we use to communicate? I'm asking you, what do you think?
Photo, video, audio.
And what is the main component of a photo?
Light.
Exactly.
Light
So,
being let into a sensor.
yeah, so we're not a replacement of stained glass.
Yeah.
We're using descendants of the stained glass. So we are using what we have now. And as creatives, there's a lot of times when we edit a photo and we want to add texture, we do some grain or we want to do a specific texture. And when you do, there are so many templates and packages and packs about stained glass texture. And you use it and you're like, oh yeah, that looks cool. And then you think, well, I'm so original because I'm using this. No, it's been used for hundreds of years.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's where I draw the line. I believe that we're using the same. We use light as a media to create and to do the. It's like a juxtaposition of what they did versus what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it connects. And it's still the same. We're still using light to connect.
What are some practical ways creatives can reveal truth without becoming the focus themselves?
I think is remembering that it's not about you. It's not about me. Becoming a designer has taught me a lot, and I've learned that it's not about me. The first time I made a billboard, I designed a billboard. I really wanted to include like a little signature, like a little something that when I look at it, I could tell people, if you look in that corner, you can see my name. And then I learned about the client is paying you to do a design for them, for their brand. If you never stipulate it in any contract in any way, you can have your own brand, your own logo in there. So that's not the purpose. And then remember that it's not about you. The creatives and churches need to remember that we again are just vessels to be pour something in somewhere else. So it's really easy to think about me. Once you finish a video, once you finish a design, you can look back and say, like, I can't believe I just did this. And the more people you show it, people are going to be like, especially if people are not familiar with editing in audio or the stuff we do, it's really easy to hear what they say and believe that you are everything they're saying when they go, I don't know how you do this. I cannot even fathom the idea of do something the same way that you do it. And it's really easy to feel your ego.
Yeah.
And we have an expression in Latin America that every time someone compliments you, you bring like an imaginary brick and you step on it and you feel taller. You feel taller than, higher than. And the more bricks you step on, the more you believe it yourself, until someone comes and gives you a reality check, pushes all the bricks, and you just fall.
Yeah.
And then you remember that that's your place. You're just a servant. You're just here to serve God, the purpose. I think that's where it lies, and it's not about me. I can stop existing. I can stop working for the church or for my clients, and they can find someone else.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that God is going to stop sending his presence. The Holy Spirit is going to stop working. It's not about me. It's not about the photography team. It's not about the video team or the music or the worship. We're just vessels to spread the message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day about how, like, it does, at the end of the day, people are going to, for like, so I mean, I do websites. My wife and I will put together branding and we do all sorts of stuff. And at the end of the day, whether it be the photographer somebody chooses, the videographer someone chooses, they're going to hire and choose who they want.
Yeah.
Hopefully they pray about it.
Yeah.
And they choose who they want to hire, you know? And I can never be upset about that. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, yeah, I thought about the same thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who gets hired for what job. There's always going to be another one.
Yeah.
There's always another client. There's always another. At the end of the day, the objective, whether it be a nonprofit, creative, a creative within a church, a someone who's learning to make graphics or design social media posts or whatever it is, at the end of the day, you serve a purpose. You're a blue collar worker,
Yes.
you're there to design, create, labor, and serve, and then be done.
Yes.
We're all replaceable, whether you want to admit it or not. Yeah, I can be replaced at work. I can be replaced for this podcast. I can be replaced for this nonprofit. I cannot be replaced at home, and that's the only place.
Yeah.
It's all about the priorities of the creatives and finding the right order in which that you need to set your life, whether it be, hey, I'm only going to work 40 hours this week. I think for a lot of hardworking creatives, it's hard to say, hey, I'm done at 40. I'm done at 50.
It's really easy to overwork.
Yep. Because there's always something else to continue to improve on. And you argue that beauty makes truth perceivable, perceptible, but in a culture that claims that all beauty is always subjective, how do you think it's still important to define and create beauty?
Well, I think beauty is not. It's not a solution. I think beauty is a revelation. And as you say, beauty is subjective. But there's an intrinsic value in beauty when you when you align beauty to the message. In this case, the beauty of God. It is subjective in everyone's hearts, but it kind of feels the same. It's almost like describing a miracle. God has worked in our lives in different ways, but the ontological value of a miracle is the same. A miracle is something extraordinary, something that you and I cannot do on our own.
Yeah.
And when someone sees it from behind or from outside the box, that looks like a miracle, it feels like a miracle. In this case, beauty is not about what we understand for beauty. It's not superficial beauty. It goes to what is appealing to the crowds and also to you as a designer, as a creative. Beauty is a revelation of there's something out there that is stronger, that is creative, more creative than us, that is more powerful. And through his power, through his mercy, through his love, through everything that he is, we are able to do what we do. And that's where the beauty relies on. His beauty and his power is a revelation, beauty is a revelation of his power and a revelation that we can be used to transmit and spread that beauty.
Yeah.
And subjectivity is, or being subjective to what did they say? Art?
Beauty is a revelation?
No, beauty lies in
Beauty is not a solution, it's revelation.
No, there's a famous saying about it's in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the...
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, yeah.
Yes. And that is true. Because what you consider pretty or beautiful is not what I consider beautiful. And that's also okay. We have different opinions. But when it comes to God, and when it comes to being a creative, the purpose is the beauty. The final purpose is the end. And it ties in again to it's not about us. Because once you understand your place, you understand the value of the beauty, you understand the value of the purpose, and you understand that what you do in your designs and your work can be unnoticed, and you can be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not about you. And one of my teachers used to say that good designs go unnoticed. So the more people talk about your designs, the more time they have spent just watching them, examining them, and go like, oh, you see that font? It's a little, I can see pixels there are not supposed to go there. Oh, I don't like this color combination. Oh, I don't like this, so and so and so. So when people tell me, and it just happened today, we just did designs for Father's Day, and these two sweet ladies were talking about how they really like the branding and the designs for this year's Father's Day, and it feels nice. It's really good. And if I want, I can go home thinking I'm the best. I'm really good at what I do, and I can go tell my wife, and I'm just the best designer. And I can text you and be like, Blake, I'm better than you because I'm really good. These two ladies told me I'm really good. No, but I can stay in that. But then with my baby, I've experienced it. He doesn't know I'm a designer.
Mm-hmm.
My dogs don't know what to do. Well, I'm sorry, they don't know what I do. I might be an artist because of the way I feed them, the way I throw the ball, but that's all they know. And those are my humbling moments where my two dogs and my baby, they don't care if I know how to draw, if I'm really good at designing, if I know the difference between CMYK colors and RGB, if I know how to connect audio. All these terminologies, they don't care. Yeah. They care about the person, what's present, and the actual vessel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the beauty lies too, where you are able to be and sitting with that, with the fact of I'm okay just being me and I can be replaceable, but it's also what I'm doing also has a value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and it's the way I phrase it is be in the mile that you're in.
Yeah.
Like when you're running, when you have a longer run to do, it's really easy to say, okay, 1 mile down, 11 to go, or whatever it is. And it's really easy to see, oh, there's such a huge chunk that has to be done. And I wish I had the same mindset when I was working on the Thailand documentary or one of these larger pieces, because it's so easy to see, okay, I've got this ending that I've got to get to, without realizing be where you are. And I've been taking that back into every part of my life. Like when I'm at home with the kids, I'm at home with the kids. I'm trying to be in the mile that I'm in.
Be present.
It's the kids we have this little loop at our house. It's a little tiny, the loop in our driveway. Mm-hmm. And the kids want to go walk around it all the time. It's like, okay, I'm going to be right here, right now. It's so easy to think like I need to, I've got all these dishes I've got to go do, or I need to make sure I've got clothes for work tomorrow, or whatever. I'm trying so hard to focus on where I'm at when I'm there, and not focused on what has to be done later. And I'm not great at it. I'm trying to learn and trying to get better at it, but it's something that I've been really thinking about lately as it applies to the podcast. Be in the episode that I'm in now. I could think about, oh, there's so-and-so that I want to talk to about. No, be where you are right now. And I think that it plays a huge role for, the done versus perfect thing. Like a lot of things in our life can come back to just try to be where you are.
Yeah.
I can grab my phone and I can scroll right now and not be right here.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm somewhere else. Yeah. I'm watching somebody else on social media live their life.
Yeah.
It's really easy to, especially now, to not be where you are.
And also comparing yourself as a creator.
Yep.
It's really easy to believe, like you say, being done versus perfect. You see someone else's workflow or the way they work, and you want to copy it and you want to mimic it because it looks really cool. And then you discover that it doesn't work for you because you're not that person, and it's okay.
The multi-track thing in Premiere, where they have a new way where you can click some buttons and it syncs all the videos together in the audio. I don't do that.
I don't like it either.
I tried it one time and I can't do it. But with this, I sync everything individually and I cut it all individually myself. And could it be faster the other way? Probably. I just can't do it. It doesn't work for me.
Well, that's also, you need to be okay with the way that you work is the way that you work.
Yep.
If it works for you, it works for you, man. It doesn't have to work for everyone. You need to be okay with that too. And one of my, well, in this case, James, he told me the other day, it's so fascinating seeing you the way you work because you use shortcuts that I don't use, or you do sometimes things that I will do with a shortcut. And I said, well, to me, it's always trying new things, and I don't know all the shortcuts. And if I learn something a certain way, my brain is so narrow-minded, so myopic in that way that if I learn that A plus B equals C, and you tell me, no, actually B plus C can give you D, and I'm like, where's the A?
Yeah.
And you tell me, no, you should do it this way, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I learned it this way.
Yep.
I can try yours, and if I like it, and if it works for me, and if I find it that is time-saving, I'll do it that way. But if not, I love the craftsmanship and doing things manually.
Yep.
And yeah, we can spend more time. I just did it, a 3-camera video, syncing left and right audio to the 3 cameras. And there's so many AI features now that can do it for you. But there's that human touch that it just feels good when once you did it, or once you do it, it goes like, oh yeah.
Yep.
This is so nice. Yeah, it's a little, I don't know, there's a little something inherent in us when we do it. It's like, oh, it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you think is a kind of going off that, but also not trying to contradict too much, but what's a tool or a process that somebody that is just starting to work at a church or just like, I see this a lot where it's like, hey, I'm really the youth pastor, but we don't have somebody that can help with this side of it. You know, what are some either resources or things that you think that are really missing in creatives?
Are you talking about physical tools or resources, graphic resources?
Yeah,
like that? Okay.
Anything.
I will say people that are starting creating and they really want to do church creativity equipment or things like that, get as much sources of inspiration as you can, because to believe that you're going to come and change an industry, it's completely unrealistic. To believe that I'm the one who's going to change all the styles and redefine what creativity is, no, that's not true. You need to come with a humble mind and be willing to learn from everyone. There are so many resources now available online. There are free trials for all these websites. Just make sure you cancel it on time. There's free videos, free stock footage. Even if you contact maybe Blake or maybe me later on, we can share some of our assets, some of our
absolutely
websites. And I'm sure you have gathered your own library of stuff and elements that you use all the time. And I'm a big font collector, over 5,000 fonts, and I always rely to the same 10. But I love getting more.
Yeah.
But I will say learn as much as you can. Not necessarily go to school for it if you don't want to, if you don't have the time or the means to it. It helps a lot, but you don't have to. Stay humble, get inspiration from everywhere. Watch movies.
Yeah.
When you watch a lot of movies, the initial titles, that's pure creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that you present something to the audience you need to be really creative. Watch trailers.
Yeah.
Even the slides. Pay attention to colors, contrast. Learn some terminology. It's not necessary, but it helps a lot. And just be humble to learn and to be open to learn as well and to take feedback.
Yeah.
I still struggle with it sometimes. Feedback is not personal. It's not against you. It's to modify something that is not necessarily bad, but it's not serving the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can somebody either read some of your writings or get in touch with you personally if they have any questions?
Well, I haven't published any of my writings yet. I think it's one of those things where I write at night or every 2 weeks.
That's not true.
What?
You publish on Substack.
Oh, that is so true. I'm so sorry. That's true. I forget about it. Well, Substack is mainly like
It's articles and
it's
thoughts,
articles and thoughts.
but
Yes,
technically it's still published.
it's still published. You're right. I'm sorry. He knows more about my life than me. I sometimes find or formulate deep thoughts on things that people don't necessarily think about. The other day, I was thinking about why do people choose a Pokemon starter over the other two? And I said, well, this is related to aesthetics and contingent aesthetics. And I love philosophy and I love theology and I love that kind of stuff. If you find that interesting, you can maybe read some of the things I follow, I write. It's not, I'm not that deep as I might want to be. But I like to write about that kind of stuff. And yeah, Substack, Eddy Rivas, I believe is my handle.
I think so. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. And my website is iameditor.com. And I have a specific tab where I'm talking about what I call the design genome when it comes to brands. I like to find the DNA of the brand and exploit it to the best, to the most, to make unique brands and unique designs. But yeah, you can reach me out there and I can share a little bit of the knowledge I have, but also some of the resources. There's a big need for designers communities where there's no ego involved and we are able to help people. That will be really awesome. Because as a designer, it's really easy to say, no, these are my resources. Why should I share them with you? But no, we can always share that. And yeah, those are my main social media. And I have a drawing Instagram profile. I don't really use it. It's been almost 2 years since I drew something. But yeah, sometimes I will draw there. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Blake. It was very interesting.